Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of the G Pollute Now podcast. I'm so happy, honored, and thrilled to be today here with the CEO of the Corsair Group International, Jussi Saloranta, also known as Jay, UC.
Yes, please. Just call me Jay. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Jay, for having me here in the Corsair Global Headquarters here in Bangkok. It's such an honor and a pleasure. And actually, this place is so beautiful. And I think you've built it in the last few years, like this hall where we're shooting right now, this meeting hall, you built in the last year.
Yes.
This has been going so fast for Corsair. It's pretty impressive when we think about it. Corsair was created, what, in August 2020?
Yeah, we registered the company in the early 2020. And then actually in August, we launched the first factory. But yeah, it's pretty much all been done during the last 5 years, which kind of feels like a long period of time if you think about 5 years in your life. But in business, 5 years is practically nothing. It's like the warm-up round.
Right, but you're already past that initial threshold of the few couple of years. Like right now, the tipping point is more towards, like, I'm not going to say eternal because what's eternal apart from life?
Right.
But
right.
like long-lasting success, like it's pretty impressive. Corsair right now can be considered as the fastest growing company in the world in the field of chemical recycling, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that I think is a statement that we can make pretty confidently right now. We've definitely outpaced everybody else in the industry. And again, when I know we're going to talk about this later, but that fact is 100% there because of the global community that we have. And that has really enabled and made it possible for us to grow and expand our operation at this pace.
So that's the differentiating factor. But then there is another one, there is you. Because really, the vision that you have is so great, so big, and so ambitious, I might say, because the problem is huge. So just like the problem is huge, the opportunity that goes with it is even bigger.
For sure.
So you're not from that field initially, if I remember right. You're from the real estate industry.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, my background, if I go really long way ago, is in hospitality. So originally I studied in a hotel management school in Finland. I worked in hotels, restaurants, nightclubs, did basically every imaginable job that there is in a hotel, and then felt very deeply connected to service industry. I've always loved to serve people and to even try to create experiences and deliver more than just a normal service you would expect when you go to an establishment like a hotel. So that's always been my calling. And then from graduating from the hotel management school, I then entered into the business of real estate development, which was in 2005, so just about 20 years ago. And that happened when I moved from Finland to Thailand. And that's when we started developing properties and got into obviously rental management, and I was able to bring the hospitality aspect to that, and then into construction and generally land development. So that's been our main business, our bread and butter for many, many years here in Thailand. And then from there, I ventured into, obviously, on the early years of Bitcoin, into blockchain, saw that coming. And I've also been involved in a number of startup companies, either as an investor or then as one of the members of the actual founding team. So that's kind of like where my background is.
So you have a background that's diverse enough and long enough for you to have identified the opportunity when you saw it back in 2018, if I remember right, at a major university here, right, in Bangkok,
Yes.
where you saw that first pyrolysis reactor. Was it already a pyrolysis reactor?
Yeah, that was actually, it was in 2018, but just around that time. What happened was that there was a group of people from one of the most prestigious universities here in Thailand called Chulalongkorn University. And they had been working for years in research and development of a pyrolysis reactor, which was modular and was now focusing on processing plastic waste. And there was a kind of a spin-off from the university where some of their staff started building their own project and they were looking for funding. And we then joined in and started helping them to develop this technology which they wanted to build, which was aimed of becoming the most effective pyrolysis technology in the world. Unfortunately, like in many innovations, things don't necessarily go that well or happen on the time frame that everybody hopes for. And actually, even still today, they're still working on that technology. Hopefully, it comes completed one day. But that was my sort of introduction into the concept of pyrolysis, and then I just became very passionate when, first of all, I came to a realization that we have a plastic waste problem, which myself and many other people didn't even understand or know at that time. And obviously this happened right months after the Chinese government established the ban of imports of plastic waste into their country. And
what year was that?
That was in late 2017. So basically what happened is that the Chinese government said enough is enough, and they don't anymore want to be the garbage dump of the world, where for decades basically most of the plastic waste from North America, from European Union countries and so on was sent over to China to be just dumped in their landfills, or worst of all, getting burned or leaking into ocean. So when the Chinese government put a ban on these imports, basically the rest of the world suddenly woke up to a fact that, wait a minute, we got all this plastic that we're creating and now we can't ship it away to China anymore? Like, what are we going to do? We have no infrastructure, none whatsoever. For the last decades, we thought, and we're very convenient to just ship it away and, get it out of sight, out of mind. And everybody thought that there is this whole recycling thing that's happening in China and everything gets taken care of, where in reality it was just dumped into the environment. In some cases, as we know even right now, some of those Chinese companies were getting the plastic delivered from Europe, baled and packed into containers, delivered to China, where they were getting paid to bring it in, and then they would just go and literally pour it into the ocean. I mean, that's pretty brutal when you think about it. But that was really happening for years and years and years. And when the Chinese government put an end of it, the developed world especially woke up to the fact that, hey, now we got to start managing this problem ourselves. So when I saw that, and then I saw the opportunity of having an actual industrial method of dealing with this plastic waste, my mind was blown at that time, and I started to think, okay, how can we take this and commercialize it on a larger global level and scale it up and make this, number one, an important and effective solution for the global plastic waste crisis in order to clean the environment, which was now continued to be polluted by all this plastic garbage, and obviously then turn it into a business. And I've said it so many times before that if you want to solve any global, large-scale issue or a problem, you have to create a business around it. If it's an ongoing, continuous, and in this case even annually growing problem, because plastic pollution is not going away, the production of plastic and the production of plastic waste, therefore, is actually only increasing. not decreasing. So you can't solve this problem by putting a lot of donations or charity or government subsidy to it, because the problem is only getting bigger every year. Like you can't. The only way how you're gonna be able to solve a problem like this is to build a business around it. And if the business people and the community comes together in combination with the right mentality and the right attitudes when it comes to cleaning our planet and leaving a healthier environment for the future generations, through that, I know we're going to be able to solve this problem.
Yeah, indeed. Trash is only trash because it's not profitable yet. But the
Right.
moment we make it a source of revenue and it becomes an actual profitable venture to actually turn that trash into cash, it's not a problem anymore. It becomes an opportunity. So being the entrepreneur that you are, having touched to so many different fields and having seen how the regulation was changing in 2017 in terms of at least one country not being part of the scheme that until then was allowing that trash to be literally licked into the environment, they said stop. Now what did you say? You say, well, let's begin something. And this is pretty much, I would say, the mindset of like the true entrepreneur, the ones who doesn't see a problem, he sees an opportunity.
Yes.
And this for me represents the future of humanity, where we're not actually stuck anymore waiting. We are actually taking over. We're not taking part to the problem. We're taking over by becoming actually the solution makers.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is so ingrained into the DNA of Corsair Group International. For me, as I already told you, I've been searching for pretty much 20 years. I've done so many things, and one of them was carbon finance. And when I saw that carbon finance industry starting to actually pop up back in the 2007, 2008, I actually jumped on board as soon as I can. I got a degree from the Paris Dauphine University in France in carbon finance, energy carbon finance. And I was so passionate about that matter, that field, because it gave purpose to business. It gave sense, meaning to doing business. I've never been an advocate of non-profits and philanthropy for a simple reason that, as you said, when the problem is so big, you cannot just solve it with goodwill and nice words. It has to be profitable, because unless there is profit, people will have to do something else to make money.
Yeah.
So I see what Corsair is doing right now as really the opportunity of a lifetime. I would not even say of the century, but of a lifetime, because I've been looking for nearly 20 years at carbon. I've been looking at recycling oil, used vegetable oil into biodiesel. I was in those industries nearly 20 years ago when CSR was not even a term yet, when ESG was not even a term yet. But I know that personally, in my heart and mind, I was looking for something. And now with Corsair and Corsair Connect, I'm feeling at home finally. I feel like I have a home for my humanity to be expressed in this world, in this society, which is totally polluted and polluting, and I can be part of the solution, not the pollution anymore. And that's thanks to you. That's thanks to the vision. That's thanks to the decisions that have been made by you, by your co-founders, by all the people from the Amplivo network who follow through and who are all human beings. It has nothing to do with governments or corporations as a start. It has everything to do with desire and individual decisions. And that for me is something that is so commendable that I will be forever grateful to that decision that you made that day when you say, all right, it's risky. We might lose money. We might lose time. We might actually even lose our reputation, but we're going to do it still.
Absolutely.
Tell me more about that.
Well, I think it's with every business, every new idea there is always going to be a period of time when you're really just trying to survive, right? And I believe it takes at least 2 years to build a business. After 2 years, you'll be able to look back and say, okay, is this something that we should still contribute time and effort and potentially money into, or should we go and do something else? I think that goes with everything. Now, we believed from the very beginning that even before we had all these elements in place, and keeping in mind that we started Corsair purely as an industrial company. There was no involvement of the plastic credit, there was no involvement of the community, the network. We were just simply out there initially to start building these plants and start from Thailand with a vision to scale it globally, but to get the first machine up and running, start doing something. And that's basically where we started, and that was the step one. Now, like with every business, you go through a lot of opposition. And again, we as a young company entering into this industry with no previous background in oil and gas, chemical, waste management, you name it, any of these industries, even when it comes to environmentalism, we were seen by everybody to be a little bit of the black sheep. And I would say that, even still today, we're seen like that. And today it's definitely our advantage. And I take pride on that. And I actually enjoy the fact that we're like disrupting everybody's operations. I love that. But at that time, when you're starting off and you're small and you're just getting started, you don't have a lot of leverage, right? There's not a lot of meat around the bone. It's just the bone, and it's just the confidence, and it's a little bit of, how would I say? There's even comical aspects to it, because you're entering very well established industries with the intention to disrupt them. But you have no means of disrupting anything except by whatever you can inject from your personality of the team and the company and the founders and the leaders, right? So getting into this, first of all, we were ridiculed. We were questioned. We were, even by some, we were trying to kind of, push us down and kind of shut us down. Like, we went through every possible opposition, starting from the fact that so-called experts that were supposed to know all of this, literally, and you can go back and read some of these statements 6 years ago, literally told that it's impossible to create oil from plastic. It's like we've gone through every single opposition and we've proved everybody wrong. And I always have this advice, is that beware of the experts. Beware of them. And I've seen it personally from how people that are highly educated, decades and decades of experience, I don't want to start trashing anybody personally, but I mean, a gentleman in Finland holding a very, very high position in the environmental ministry with a chemical background gave a statement in one of our Finnish interviews or news articles that was done maybe 5 years ago. And he said that this process that Corsair is talking about doesn't work. It's impossible. And it just shows you the kind of a level of opposition that we as a young company had to go through. And how do you then go again and try to convince people that it's possible when you have these experts talking about your operations and saying this is not going to work? I have 30 years in the chemical industry. I can tell you this doesn't work. And then I'm there saying, yeah, it works. And people ask me, well, Jay, like, who are you to say that it works? You know, didn't you have a background in hospitality, real estate, construction? What do you know about chemical operations? Well, what do I know? Well, only thing I know is that I can invite you to our factory and stand with me next to the machine for 24 hours and watch with me when we load the plastic in and oil comes out. How about that? You know, so it's like, all right. And, you know, I had so many people that doubted us in the beginning. And okay, you know, I never took it personally. I don't take it negatively. Sure, we're disrupting. You know, we kind of enjoy that part. But I love proving these people wrong. I love when people tell me that it's not possible. I love when people say, that's not going to work. This is never going to fly. Forget about it. This is not a good idea. This is bad, whatever. I love that. Like, it motivates me tremendously. I get so much energy from that, and it just inspires me to do more. So we proved all of those experts wrong who said that, first of all, you can't make oil out of plastic, which was then followed by the next group of experts who said, okay, you can do it, but it's never going to be efficient in energy, that you're spending more energy than you're getting out of it. First of all, that statement already proves that they have no idea what they're talking about, because our focus and everything that we do, for example, today, is not focusing on creating energy. Their already approach on looking at this operation was wrong from the get-go. And they were looking at, we're trying to burn the plastic and create electricity, for example, or that we're using the plastic to create fuel. And they were trying to calculate the energy balances from that, which again we proved wrong, because the fact is that we could run our operations basically 100% off the grid. We use the actual plastic waste to create the source of heat that we need for the whole process. If we want, we don't need to use any outside source of energy for the heat that we need. All of that comes from the plastic waste. And obviously we could use the oil to create even the electricity that we need. But in countries like here in Thailand, which is our goal and aim that we're going to be implementing now into 2026, is to run 100% on solar. So we are actually 100% unplugged. We could go anywhere in the middle of nowhere, set up a plant over there and just run it without any access to any outside infrastructure of electricity or energy, whatever. And we would still be able to produce pyrolysis oil, which can then be supplied for the petrochemical industry to be used by our existing customers, which are the largest petrochemical companies in the world, that are able to use our oil efficiently and effectively to create new, more environmentally friendly plastic products. So how can you say that that's not energy efficient, right? But again, the assumption and the expectation was there, and we had to prove that wrong. And then came basically the third objection, which was that, yeah, okay, but you can do all of that, but it's never going to be financially viable. You're going to rely on grants and all this kind of stuff, until we proved them wrong again. because we have a simple production cost and we have a multi-year agreement with our off-takers, which guarantees for us an X amount of money per every liter that we sell. And if there's a margin between your production cost and your sales price, and in our case, the margins are very, very healthy, then there's very little argument. It's a very effective and it's a very efficient and viable business. So these were the things that we had to go through. And again, like I say, personally, I love the objections and I love the fact that we were seen as someone entering into the stage. I'll give you a practical example. We, in 2021, when European Union introduced this new regulation where the plastic manufacturing industry is now becoming obligated to use recycled raw material, which started this year, 2025. And when this new regulation was introduced, we started getting contacted by all the major petrochemical companies around the world. And I know, I remember there was a Zoom call that we did with one of the largest oil and gas petrochemical companies in the world, which is also one of the largest corporations on the planet. And we had a Zoom call with them, and it was myself and some of my, founding partners. And we got on the call, and they came with their whole chemical development team, business development team. They probably had like 20 people on the call, and it was just a couple of us. And they came and they had PhDs and, like top level people. And they came on the call and we started having the conversation and we're telling what we're doing and everything else. And they love what we're doing. And they go like, yeah, okay, usually when we have these calls, there's a group of people with white lab coats participating in these calls. And I said, but in this case with Corsair, there's just a bunch of cowboys, right? So they all find it very amusing. But that's really been our approach. And we never claim that we have a, background in anything that we didn't. And we didn't say that we can do something that we can't. We always proved everybody wrong, not by statements or words, but by actual actions and results. And I love that. And now, fast forward, coming to the end of this long statement here, but now we start to be in a situation where we've sort of disrupted enough. We've sort of pushed ourselves into all of these different areas and the markets and the industries. And some of these people that don't necessarily even want us to be there have no other way than to accept that, we're here. You gotta deal with us. We don't need to deal with you. We're not asking anything from you guys. You're the one who needs our help. And that's just an, sort of an entrepreneur's, in a way you could say even a dream to be able to do some of those things and just keep on disrupting these markets while we know that we are driven as a company and as a group by our mission of cleaning this planet and doing good things for the people and the environment. I don't know anything more better than that.
That's the best business in the world. That's what I keep on saying to everyone who would listen. It's the best business in the world. And it's very impressive. Thank you so much for this recounting. It is actually interesting to notice that one of the main personal traits that has been able to carry you through all that resistance, all that, lack of openness, open-mindedness, was defiance. The fact that you could find in all those people who tried to just break your experimentation, to prove them wrong. It's not to hurt them, it's actually to bless them. It's so that they can realize that there is another way, guys. Yes. Get out of your beliefs, get out of your limiting beliefs, get out of your little polluted mind and open up to the possibility of another world, of another way of making society, of another way of actually serving the purpose of a company. A company is here to profit, sure, yes, but all those negative externalities that you've been putting out and that you basically, as a polluter, you've been basically polluting. Now maybe it's time to pay. And maybe you can need something, some other way of actually re-internalizing those external negativities thanks to a different way of seeing things. So that defiance mindset is definitely very, very impressive. And the other thing is the timing, because for business, there needs to be a timing. Too early is too early and too late is too late. So the right time is always the right time. And I would say that for Corsair, maybe it's a miracle, I don't know, but you're like on the perfect timing, especially now that the regulation has passed enough in Europe with the so-called plastic tax. Maybe you could tell us a bit more about that. But before, I want to ask you a question, but we'll get back to it. And because also in terms of timing, we are after that European regulation, but before the UN worldwide regulation. We are in between. That gives Corsair such an incredible edge, especially considering that the technology of Corsair right now is literally giving you the possibility to brag about the quality of your oil as being one of the best, the pyrolysis oil, one of the best in the world, if not the best, according to some of your off-takers. So this is absolutely impressive and might even say miraculous. But one thing that is even more interesting, as I was telling you before, is that yes, there is a combination of things, but most importantly, there is you. There is you who have that vision and who have that drive that no matter what happens, you know that the problem is too bad for us to fail. You know that we need to solve this problem thanks to the technology, the industrial solution, but then also thanks to the rest of the solution. So you brought in that blockchain technology. You brought in the power of multi-level marketing, of network marketing, of crowdfunding. This is absolutely huge and never done before. So before we move on to the rest and to the EU regulation and stuff, I would like to get back to you. I would like to know, because being an entrepreneur myself, I'm very inspired and impressed, and mostly inspired, but extremely impressed. And I would like to learn what it is that we could tell aspiring entrepreneurs, no matter the field. What is, apart from defiance, we got it, defiance. Like, you're not gonna settle with, it's not possible. No, I'm gonna try and we'll see. Apart from this personality trait, what other personality traits has brought you to be able to continue to persevere? What is it that makes the difference between an entrepreneur who actually is so driven that he's going to persevere and somebody else who would have given up? What is it? And on a side note, can you tell us more about that flag that is there at the top of the building?
I would say the word is persistence. Persistence. That's probably, I would say, at least in my case, and I can only speak for myself, but that is probably the biggest personality trait that I would have, because I never give up. Never. It's like, you gotta kill me.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I got, as long as I got heart beating in me, I'm never stopping. And I am so mission driven, like, just to think about, and we can talk about that more, and I've kind of told you a little bit earlier before we started this recording, a little bit about the sort of the lifestyle and the commitment to work, and the crazy hours that we put in and all the effort that we put in. After 5 years, I work like it's day one, the same way. I mean, there's no day off, and I feel that for any entrepreneur to be able to succeed, and this is my opinion, again, take it as it is, you have to be extraordinarily driven individual to be able to really pull it off. And that's what I feel. I mean, I am 100% committed. Like, this is it. There's no other plan. There's no plan B. There is nothing else that I want to do than this. And I love what we're doing. I love what we've been able to build, and I love the direction where we're going. And I already see very clearly the next milestones that we're going to hit and where we want to be in the next coming years, and where this is going to go. And that also, I hope, gives more also confidence to our community and the people, is that this is not a temporary, quick, project that we want to finish off and then exit or sell the company, whatever. No, I have no intention of doing any of that, because, like you said, I 100% agree. I don't think there's any other business in the world at the moment which, now when we've been able to combine all those elements, if it would be only one individual area, it would be a different situation. But having all of those things into place, and what Corsair stands as a business model and as a company today, I don't think there's anything better than that.
I agree.
Now, okay, you can of course talk about, AI and robotics and everything else, but just wait when you hear what we have in store and how things are going to develop, including those areas as well. And when there's more technological breakthroughs and development when it comes to robotics and when it comes to AI and all these things, which are the sort of hit trend words right now, we already have them in place. We've already had them in plan already for years, how we're going to start implementing those into our business to make us even more efficient, and how we can even do our work even better. But
that's
there is...
That's a scoop. That's breaking news.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
absolutely. And it's not that we're going to start entering in the manufacturing of robotics. That's not the whole thing. But how we can use automation, robotics, and AI to enhance and develop and make our operations more efficient, that's definitely been in our plans already for years. We've just been waiting for the right technologies to be available so we can start implementing them. And that's a big thing for the future. Now, at the same time, when we talk about automation and robotics, I just want to highlight now, when we have this sort of conversation, is that, for example, my vision is that in the future, all of these plastic recycling plants, and especially when it comes to raw material sorting, picking up plastic waste from the landfills, those should be work that is done by machines, not by human beings. We have a big mission also to create jobs and to be able to provide job opportunities wherever we go. And that's why governments are so welcoming for us anywhere we go in the world, because whenever we go into a new location and we talk to the local, either the local city government, municipality, the state or the federal or the national level, we are always coming with a full package, which includes an investment into their local city and community. It includes creating of full-time jobs, which would range somewhere between 30 to, let's say, 50 full-time job opportunities that are created. And on top of that, there's going to be hundreds of indirect jobs that are created as well. Because all the contractors, developers, suppliers, logistics, all the work that we generate for other companies by operating our operations in that the local community creates a lot of value for the entire community. So these are important and very, very valued elements that we can deliver for any city or country wherever we decide to expand our operations. And that's why the governments are so welcoming for our operations. Then on top of that, what are we doing there? We are developing an infrastructure to deal with their waste. We are developing and cleaning their environment from this plastic pollution, which is many times polluting it by either it being open out on the environment or filling up their landfills, whatever. We're delivering an actual solution. And obviously, as a business, our aim is to become as profitable as possible, to become also a good taxpayer for that local city. So it has all of those elements in place, which is exactly what every single government in all the different levels are looking for. But I do want to highlight on the topic of creating jobs, because I think there is a lot of need for that. But these would need to be jobs that are meaningful. Like, coming back to the robotics and AI, the plastic waste collection especially from enclosed areas like landfills or waste streams, the way I see it in the future will be done 100% by AI and automation. You know, I imagine a future where we have thousands of whatever they are, whoever manufactures them, but we have thousands of Corsair robots that are out there doing all this collection, moving the raw material around, and operating these plastic waste raw material preparation elements, and even loading of the machines and all this kind of thing, which is work that always involves dealing with garbage. There's always the element and the aspect of obviously dealing with waste, which is not a work that anybody should be doing. We want to bring people now into those jobs by providing them safe and properly organized professional, industrial, and international standard working environment. So the tens and tens of people that work in our facilities, first of all, these people are well looked after. We pay these people better than they would get from any other industrial job anywhere in this country. We look after them, we provide them social security, we provide them all the health benefits, we make sure that they got a good, healthy, and as clean as possible working environment and arrangement with all the needed equipment and everything in place. But ultimately that should all be automized, and that could all be done by AI. And then we can bring in more people to do more challenging or more meaningful work, which involves then not just doing a normal labor work that could be done by machines and AI. So that's another element where this element and these technologies, as they develop and they become more accessible, are going to be a very important part of our future expansion as well.
That's amazing. So really, it's already the best business in the world, but it's gonna get only better.
Absolutely.
It's impressive. So yeah, I had no idea about this. That was already in the plan regarding AI and robotics, but it totally makes sense. The goal, I would say, for humanity is not to work more, it's to live. Because right now, many people around the world have been surviving to the pollution, have been trying to survive to all kinds of pollution, starting with the pollution of the mind, being literally groomed to take on any job just to be able to pay bills. And we know that this is not the proper way to live. When you're an entrepreneur, you know that you're not going to settle for less than what your vision is as an entrepreneur, because you're so driven, you're so persevering that artists are entrepreneurs. All kinds of people are entrepreneurs. And entreprendre in French, it means like to do, to want to do, like I want to do. So we know that there is not a way for humanity. And I see Corsair as being a project or company or vision that comes from future and that comes from nature, because it takes us towards a different timeline where we do not have to put up with the status quo. We can change the status quo. And it also comes from nature in the sense that it's a project, it's a business model, it's a company with people, with human beings who are basically taking humanity back to its natural abundance, to its natural purity, to its natural cohesion, collaboration, and not competition anymore. Because really, this business has no competition. It's very impressive. If we consider the amount, not even Corsair, but the amount on a global scale of pyrolysis oil that's being produced, it's like a drop in the ocean compared to the need, which is so huge, right? Maybe you can tell us more about that. And I'm not gonna let you get away with it. I want to hear about that flag on top of the building.
Okay, we gotta do the flag story. You want to do that now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to tell you the long story or the short one, so I'll do the middle one. There was a group of people that came together, as I mentioned, after the introduction by the university to start developing this idea. And I was blown away by the fact that there was now an actual technology that could convert this plastic into oil. And I started dedicating more and more myself into learning and researching and understanding this topic in order to be able to create a business model that could be scalable globally to, first of all, solve this problem and then create value. And a group of people were put together where I was one part of that group. And I was not in the driving seat. I was there to contribute my experience from business development and property development into creating this industrial model. But I had no control of that team, that company, anything else that was built around it. And the more I became aware and educated of this problem and the potential solutions that could be there, and after becoming also more and more aware that the technology that was developed, I mentioned about this technology that was built here in Thailand, was not working in the way that it was intended, at least in that time frame, I started to look at other options as an entrepreneur. Okay, I saw where there is a problem. How can we overcome this problem? Okay, if this vehicle is not going to take us to our destination, then that doesn't mean that we're just going to stop the trip and go back home. We're going to change vehicles. So I found another vehicle to take that group into its original planned destination. And when I presented this optional vehicle and my business plan that I had put together, which could be implemented and used to actually take that group at that time into that target, the end result what was actually not by everybody, it wasn't mutual or unanimous, but the powers that were in charge of decision making in that group, they fired me from that group. And I then, having been told that they no longer want my input and my involvement, I had a conversation with them and I reviewed together as my sort of exiting speech, everything that I had brought in to the table for that group at that stage and what others had been doing, which again was quite excessive. And I was very happy at that time to make my exit while evaluating what I had actually brought in. And at that time, I was reading and I was learning a lot about what happened with Steve Jobs in the 80s when he was basically fired from Apple. And I was truly inspired by that whole story and the event. And now, in a much, much more smaller scale, insignificant scale, you could say, but in a very big part of my life and my journey as an entrepreneur at that time, whereas I had pretty much always before that, at least for the last like 10, 15 years, I had always, as an entrepreneur, been in charge of whatever I'm involved with or building. But I decided to now join this bigger project because it was something that I was invited to take part in. And therefore, I was just a sort of one part, one piece of that puzzle. And now I was asked to leave. So for me, it was a very, very big thing. And I saw this opportunity. I was already fully invested. And my only intention at that time was to help that team and that group to get to that destination.
Why did they kick you out?
Well, in more detail, basically what I did is I recognized the issues that technology had. And I started to look for an alternative option. And I found a supplier of pyrolysis units originating from China that I could verify with no doubt that was actually doing what it was supposed to do. Whereas this technology that the group was developing as its own technology was not working. So my suggestion, which I made into the first business plan, was to basically continue the development, and hopefully one day that would become the best, most effective pyrolysis technology in the world. But at the same time, in parallel, open up a separate department, which I volunteered to be managing of, that would use this other technology, which was proven to work already, that I had solid proof from, and then start building this sort of secondary business unit while we work on our own technology. Because the way I saw it, as the main mission was to start recycling plastic, which was what everybody wanted to happen, but the vehicle that was there was not able to do that. And this didn't fit for many of the people in the group. They saw that I was not committed, or I wasn't a company man, where my mission was to get to the destination. And when they told me to leave, I like to use the word they fired me, I basically took that business plan and created Corsair. And the story relating to Steve Jobs and Apple, and I want to be very clear, I'm not comparing myself or Corsair to Apple or Steve Jobs, but the events that unfolded and how they unfolded have some similarities. And for me, in my personal life, at that time at least, it was a big deal. So what happened back in the 80s was that when Steve wanted to focus on the development of the Macintosh, and the Apple board of directors wanted to focus on the sales and the development of the Apple II computer, there was a divide. And eventually what happened is that Steve Jobs, he took the entire Macintosh development team and he moved the team across the street outside of the Apple offices into an office building that he rented, where he placed the Macintosh team into, and on top of that building, they had a pirate flag.
Gotcha.
Talk about the mentality, talk about the disruptions. And that story, that just resonated with me immediately. And when we launched Corsair, the first thing I did is I got ourselves a pirate flag, which has been on top of the Corsair building from day one. And when you look at the Corsair name, obviously you speak French, so there is a background which is a very maritime related. And before I went into the hotel management school of hospitality, I served in the Finnish Navy. I'm a Navy sergeant, and I have a background in maritime. I've sailed over the Atlantic many years ago from Bermuda all the way to Finland, which is another great story, a life-changing story for me. But I have a lot of background in that area, even coming from our family, where my father is also a Navy officer, and therefore that whole maritime theme has been implemented very strongly into the Corsair. Now, if you think about the name Corsair, which we explain also in some of our marketing and website, obviously it translates into the French corsairs, which were basically privateers. They were mostly Navy officers that started their own ventures, and they were appointed by the French king to go out and do missions against the enemies of France at that time. They were sort of, you could say, the flamboyant version of pirates. And it's not that we want to in any way support or even associate ourselves with the piracy of today, but let's use it for the romanticized picture of the Errol Flynn, Burt Lancaster type of pirate, the exploration. But even more importantly, when you look back even deeper on the Latin word of the meaning, now you get into the original meanings of the word, which goes into exploration, into journey, and the adventure that are the founding blocks in the Latin for that word. And when we think about our adventure, our expedition, what we are doing here, we are here to build this global solution for this massive plastic waste problem. We are here going into the battle like a small pirate ship against these big armadas that we are, as I said earlier, trying to disrupt their existing operations and industries by delivering something new and a new way of thinking. It was said by one of the Silicon Valley early stage investors. He said that when you are a startup company, you are like a pirate ship. This is his actual quote. And this is actually also what Steve Jobs was talking when he was asked about the pirate ship. He said that you are like a pirate ship when you are a startup company. You are up against the big opposition, the big armies. And you have to be able to maneuver quickly when the stakes are high and the cannonballs are flying, everything is stacked up against you. You have to be able to operate like that. You cannot operate like a Navy ship. You have to operate more like a pirate ship. And that mentality has stuck with me ever since. And when we started Corsair, we've always had that sort of a rebel mentality. And again, it comes from the persistence. It comes from the attitude of going up against any kind of opposition, going up against the status quo, people saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, watch me. Just watch me. So, to answer your earlier question, what are the traits that any entrepreneur would need is, first of all, I'd expand on that. Persistence, that at least is for me. Self-confidence, very, very important. And then you get to the skills. And the skills, if you think about these as a sort of a traits that in a good situation you should have, then the skills that you can acquire and you can learn is, number one, to build a strong team around you, because it can never be a one-man show. You need a team. And you need a team that is better than you. There's an age-old saying is that always try to hire people that are better than yourself, and I 100% agree on that. As an entrepreneur, you need to be the driving force. You need to be the captain. And I go back to the maritime example. There can only be one captain in any ship. Period. There's only one captain. You as an entrepreneur need to be the captain, or you need to appoint a captain. But there can only be one captain in any ship. And that captain will make the decision in any situation. You're heading for a storm, or you have a smooth sailing, a beautiful weather. The captain is in charge. Only one guy, or a woman, one person, one individual, whoever that would be. But you need a good crew. You need your officers, you need your staff, you need every element in the boat or in the company needs a skillful and dedicated, motivated member. And that's where the recruiting and being able to see the company like a puzzle, where every individual has a role to fill and is like a piece on that big puzzle, where the puzzle keeps growing as your company keeps on growing, and you need to bring in more and more of those valuable, important pieces. Once you have the pieces in place, then another skill that I try to learn even more myself is to delegate. Hugely important. Hiring people that are smarter than yourself and then delegate. Let those people go out and do their thing. That's a thing that I do pretty well. I don't try to involve myself in every area of our business, especially our co-founders, our partners. Sonny, who runs our industrial development here in Asia, he runs that part. And he reports to me and for the rest of the board, but he has hands-on, he's in full charge of that area. IT development in Corsair, Wayne Dobson, our Chief Information Officer, he runs that part. We obviously have an ongoing dialogue on things that we're developing and what needs to be done, and we're troubleshooting whatever issues come there, but he runs that. He's running the day-to-day operations 100%. Gareth, our Chief Financial Officer, runs all the accounting, the finance, the admin, the legal. He runs that part. Andre Tops runs our operations when it comes to new project development, especially in the Northern Hemisphere with European, North American projects and so on. So you have to be able as an entrepreneur to build a strong team and then go beyond that to start bringing members into those teams. So it's more easier said than done. And obviously every business model, every company is different. But those would be, for me, some of the most important elements of how to succeed as an entrepreneur, and also what's the story behind the Corsair flag.
That's very impressive, and I'm really grateful that you had the grace and the balls to actually keep going, because this is what today gives us this incredible vessel, this incredible, it's beyond the boat. It's like a vehicle of light for humanity to free itself in a way, because the vision is so great and the problem is so huge that actually there is no limit to what can be accomplished. And I can totally feel that and see it even more now that I'm talking to you. I had an idea of that. I discovered Corsair a year and nearly 2 months, a year and a month and a half ago, thanks to Thomas Carrière, who sponsored me into this project, and I will be forever grateful to him for that.
Amazing guy.
Incredible. Thanks to the decision of one man, Corsair exists. And thanks to the decision of another man, Thomas Carrière, I could hear about it. So it's all about humans. And, I think I told you already a couple of days ago, I tend to think of you, and that's funny that you mentioned the link between the pirate flag and Steve Jobs, because I tend to think of you and to speak about you as being actually a Steve Jobs and a Mahatma Gandhi combined, because of the visionary marketing genius of Steve Jobs and the humanists, philanthropists, open-hearted vision also of Mahatma Gandhi. And you come out as such soft-spoken, kind, generous, caring individual who is definitely like entering into this arena of big business, big oil, big pollution, big government, big stuff which is literally so heavy. And you come and it's extremely impressive, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is, and I think we've done a pretty good job on that, and the best part with everything that we're doing right now, everything people have seen us do, is we're just getting started. I mean, it's very, we're still like, this is still day one, and coming back to the previous topic and the story, just to finish that off, is that original group then failed. And the elements that remained eventually were taken over by Corsair. And if they would have followed or taken a different step, obviously there would not be Corsair. I would have been executing the Corsair business plan in that group, and I think that would have gone very differently. Who knows what would have happened? I truly believe that in life, most of the time, things happen for a reason. And there's a bigger plan, how this is all supposed to go. And I think that all of those things happen for a reason. And therefore, the fact that I left from that group, started Corsair, and eventually Corsair acquired the assets from that group, is a sort of a background also for my statement of us being here not to take part, but being here to take over. And we've done that. We've done that on a number of occasions already. How we literally took over this whole industry here in Thailand by acquiring 2 other companies, bringing the people from those companies into our team, and now having no longer 3 individual pyrolysis companies in Thailand, which was the case before. There was Corsair and 2 others, and they were all kind of working separately. But what we were able to do is we were able to acquire those 2 companies, bring them all under the same Corsair umbrella, and now have, again, experienced, very high educated and quality people to come and work together in shared mission. There was no longer this separation, but now three completely different teams were now able to openly share the information in order to create something better. And that's the way we like to do these things, in collaboration, synergy, and just through expansion fueled by our positive mission of cleaning up the planet.
Yeah, one thing that I heard you say that also inspired me a lot is that you asked that first team to actually share with the others the mistakes that they made.
Yes.
Then with this team to also share the mistakes that they made, and then with this team to share the mistakes. And then told them, all right, now that you made all these mistakes, get together and go make other mistakes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's the only way. Like, I mean, you got a trial and error. We have a saying in the company. Sometimes when we get asked about something, we're very open to say about it that we don't know, but we'll figure it out. That's always been the mentality, and that again is another thing for an entrepreneur. You're not expected to know everything, but you're expected to figure it out, and that figuring out can be the difference between survival and success, or failure and success. It can really be a defining situation. Those issues and problems and things that you have to face, especially with a young business, with a young company, can be life-changing. It can be from the company's point of view, hopefully not from the entrepreneur's point of view, but from the company's point of view, those can be decisions that will determine between the life and death of the company. And we've been several times, especially in our early years, we've been in those situations where we didn't know how we're going to pull through, how we're going to push through these obstacles or situations or problems, whatever challenges we had at that time, but we always knew and we always relied on the fact that we're always going to figure it out. And we've done.
You mentioned one of the traits as being, for success, as being perseverance, but you didn't mention one which is actually here all the time in the silver lining of everything you've been doing, and that is integrity. And integrity seems to be also part of the DNA of Corsair, in the sense that one of the definitions that I like to give of integrity, it's to do one's best with what you have, what you know at a certain moment, and to also take responsibility while at the same time being humble enough to recognize what you don't know yet, but doing your best with what you have.
Absolutely. And you know, good example of this is when in 2021, we took over the Amplivo network, which at that time the previous owners and the management had basically abandoned. They were about to pull the plug, which would have meant that tens of thousands of people would have lost everything that they had built in that business at that time. And even if I have a background in network marketing, our family has a background in direct sales. I've been involved with the industry. I've never run a network marketing company before, never been in the management of a network marketing company. And to be fair, I never had any ambition of being in one. But I've always understood the fact that if you can utilize the concept of direct sales, network marketing, multi-level marketing, whatever we want to call it, if you can utilize the power of the people with the right mentality, with the right product and service, in combination, as you said, with integrity and with the principles of doing what is right, doing what is fair, you have a winning formula. But these kind of things I didn't see. I haven't seen any other company to do that. And in 2021, when the opportunity was presented for us to take over this company, which was at a verge of a bankruptcy at that time, I turned down the opportunity first for several times until it became obvious that if I wasn't going to take this company, it would be shut down. And at that time, I came to a realization that there wasn't going to be anybody else to save this. It's either me or nobody else. And I decided at that time that, okay, I didn't create any of the problems that the company had. I had no involvement in that. I had no ownership. I never earned a single euro from that company, which now was in debt close to €1 million and was in the verge of bankruptcy with all liabilities and all problems and everything that was going on. And its last remaining owner was basically days away of pulling the plug and shutting it down. And the only possibility was now me. I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it. I had no involvement on it, but that's the situation that we were now all in. And at that moment, I had to make a decision to either say, you know what, it's not my problem, Corsair is doing fine, or to take over this company and all of its liabilities and all of its problems and whatever was there. And I had a conversation with myself and came to a conclusion that I wouldn't be able to look myself in the mirror if I just simply turned my back on this. It's like, that's not who I am. It's like, no, it would go against everything I believe, every cell in my body. And I eventually agreed in taking over the company without any guarantee of anything. There was no way of saying which way this is going to go. I had a vision, I had an idea what it could become, but at the same time I was very realistic, understanding that I've never done this before. I have no actual experience or understanding how to do it, but I knew that we'll figure it out. But if it goes bad, then I go down with it. Because now, the moment I sign that paper, all the liabilities and the debts now belong to me. And my lawyer actually had me sign a piece of paper confirming that I am going to act against his professional advice, who told me not to do it, do not take the company, don't touch it, Jay, it's not your problem. Why are you doing this? Are you out of your mind? He asked me. Why would anybody do this? You didn't create these problems. Why would you take it? And because I was going to act against his professional advice, he needed a guarantee that I'm not going to sue him later in a court saying, oh, my lawyer told me that it's okay. So he said, I got to protect myself. I've never seen anything like this done before. And the recommendations that I got at that time was, and I'll give you an example, again, about throwing yourself into these situations and taking full engagement, was that the legal advice that I got at that time was to, instead of taking the company, was to actually just take the asset, take the network, and leave the liabilities, leave the debts and whatever was with that company, which would have been a very logical thing to do. But I said, I'm not going to do that, because I never ever want to give the opportunity for anyone to say in the future that, oh, Jay came in and he just took the best parts and he left all the shit behind. No. If I'll do it, I'll take everything. Not just the good parts. I'll take all of it. And if I then go down with it, then that will be. But I had an idea, I had a vision of what this could become if those right elements were put into place. If there was a proper, viable, proven business model, which is built on the plastic waste recycling, which I know that we can do. And if we could combine that with the environmental service of the plastic waste removal service that we then developed, in combination with this new emerging regulatory technology, this new instrument called plastic credit, which was now being developed on the footsteps of the carbon credit, if we could put these together with right principles of direct sales, multi-level marketing, network marketing, and with the power of the people and with the power of the community, we could spread this opportunity and this message around the world, while at the same time delivering a solution of cleaning our planet from plastic waste, being able to help in the future millions and millions of people around the world that need our help, and on top of that create an amazing business opportunity that can now help entrepreneurs around the world to reach their financial targets, create wealth, financial freedom and abundance for the people that are part of this opportunity. I was like, okay, there's something here. And I told everybody, especially with the existing members of the network, guys like Jean-Luc Bay and Andrea Cerio and René Van Diest and Vittorio and the guys that were part of that group in the beginning. I told all of those guys, I said, listen, there's no guarantees if this is going to work or not. If you have any feeling that this is not the right direction, you don't stand behind this vision, you can't relate to it, then now would probably be the right time to go out and do something else. This would probably, if there was a right time, it would be here. But if you believe in this, and if you trust me, then this is going to change your life. You are going to make more money, you're going to have a larger impact, you're going to have something amazing happening in your future that we're going to create together as a result of doing this business and to make it work. But there's no guarantees if this is going to work. I got like a to-do list of like 50 items and I have no idea how we're going to do them, but we're going to figure them out. But one thing I can guarantee for you guys, that's what I said. I am only interested of doing what is right and what is fair. And this is not a sprint. This is not a 100-meter quick run. No, this is a marathon. And we are going to be here 50 years from now, 100 years from now. That's what we're building. Because I am not interested. I said, I don't need this money. I'm fine. Personally, I'm okay. So I am not motivated in any way with money involving the network into this business. Very much opposite. I'm actually taking other people's debt that I'm now becoming responsible if this doesn't work. So I'm not motivated. There's not a single euro of financial benefit for me to do this at this stage. Naturally, if it works out, yeah, there's going to be a lot. But at that time, so money wasn't the motivating factor for me to make that decision. And with the entire Corsair operations, from very much early on, while we want to build a multi-billion-dollar business and company and do all these things, the money is not the primary motivator here. If it was, I would probably right now considering of doing some kind of an exit. I mean, the company is right now probably worth close to $300 million. That's what we built over there. So selling the company now, doing an exit, whatever, yeah, this might be the right time. I mean, if you ever want to sell a company, you want to sell it when it's on its way up. You don't want to sell it when you're peaking or going down, right? So the right time to sell any business would be now. And that's the last of my thoughts. So I can full-heartedly make the statement that money is not the motivator. The motivator is for us to build value for millions of people around the world and to deliver this solution that can actually solve one of the largest environmental problems that our humanity has ever faced. And combine all those together with entrepreneurship, with the right mentalities, already new and existing and new emerging technologies. That's what excites us.
So that's unstoppable, basically. I think we have now a vessel for humanity to basically onboard and become all Corsairs, right? All nice pirates who are literally hacking the system from within, not fighting the system, actually making the polluters pay by rewarding the nice human beings who are actually realizing that they should not wait, that they should not posture themselves, position themselves as victims of this whole global pollution, but rather become depolluters, which is what we're all invited to do. So it is unstoppable, I think. Hearing you, I feel so galvanized. I don't know if that's the word in English, but anyways, I feel so uplifted in my spirit, in my soul, in my mind, in my whole body. I can feel so much energy of integrity, of vision, of ambition, of simple humanness, I might say, that I really feel it's unstoppable, and I can't wait to see the rest. However, we're gonna put a little pause to our dialogue and prepare for a part two. We'll be publishing this part one very soon, and I'm extremely humbled and grateful to be part of this project and to have the privilege of being able to interact with somebody I honestly consider, you're here, but I could say to anyone, even if you are not here, a true visionary of the 21st century. And that for me is a blessing for humanity. So I
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Much appreciated.